Workflow. The predator cub snarled at human. Even instructors froze, but she grinned and said, "Nice try." The training ground was silent except for the low growls echoing from behind the reinforced glass. The predator cub, a creature bred for strength, agility, and cunning, paced back and forth with sharp eyes fixed on the humans outside. Even the seasoned instructors, veterans of countless encounters with dangerous species, found themselves frozen in place, hesitant to provoke the young beast. It was a test of nerve, a challenge to see if humanity could hold its ground. But then, from the other side of the room, she stepped forward. Her stance relaxed, confidence radiating from every movement. She was a human, yes, but not just any human. She was the embodiment of persistence and fearlessness, the kind of person who had stared down impossible odds and smiled. As the cub lunged forward with a snarl, teeth bared, she met its fury with a grin and a calm voice that cut through the tension. "Nice try." The cub's growl softened, curiosity flickering in its eyes. There was something different about her. Not fear, not aggression, but something that drew the creature's attention. The instructors exchanged glances, realizing that this was more than a mere training exercise. It was a moment when humanity's spirit shone brightest, unyielding, unbroken, and ready to face the wild with heart and mind aligned. The cub circled her cautiously, its snarls replaced by a tentative sniff. She extended a hand slowly, allowing the creature to get used to her scent, her presence. It was a delicate dance of trust, and she moved with the patient grace of someone who understood that true strength came not from domination, but from respect. Suddenly, the cub shifted, a flicker of recognition in its gaze. The instructors leaned in, breath held, as the young predator took a step closer, then another, until it was brushing its muzzle against her palm. The room, once tense and charged with danger, filled with a quiet awe. This was not just a victory over a wild beast, it was a testament to the human spirit, a story of hope, resilience, and the power of connection in a world that often seemed defined by conflict. And as she looked up at the watching crowd, still smiling, she knew this was just the beginning. The crowd's murmurs grew louder, a mixture of disbelief and admiration rippling through the room. The cub, now calm and almost playful, nudged her hand gently, as if inviting her into its world rather than warning her away. The instructors exchanged grudging nods. This was a breakthrough none had anticipated. The young predator was testing boundaries, but instead of retreating into aggression, it was responding to something deeper, something uniquely human. She knelt down slowly, her eyes never leaving the creature's eyes. The tension dissolved completely, replaced by a strange kind of understanding. "You're smarter than they say," she whispered softly, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. It was a connection forged not through dominance, but through respect, a subtle acknowledgement that even the fiercest can recognize strength and calmness. Behind the glass, the other trainees watched with wide eyes, some shifting in their seats, suddenly aware that what they were witnessing was more than a lesson in handling dangerous animals. It was a lesson in humanity itself. The cub's snarls had turned into soft whimpers, and it playfully pawed at her wrist, testing her patience. She chuckled, a warm sound that seemed to fill the room with hope. "Good boy," she said, the words simple, but filled with meaning. The cub's ears perked up, its tail flicking in a slow, almost hesitant wag. The instructors, hardened by years of experience, looked on in quiet amazement. They had trained soldiers, diplomats, and scientists alike, but none had ever managed to break through the predator's instinctual defenses with such ease. Her eyes scanned the creature's form, muscular, agile, yet raw with the energy of youth. It was a reminder that beneath every beast was a soul shaped by experience and environment. She knew that if humanity wanted to survive alongside such creatures, it wasn't brute force that would carry the day, but understanding and empathy. The lead instructor finally broke the silence. "You've done what no one thought possible," he said, his voice a mix of respect and awe. "This cub could have torn you apart, but you made it stop. How did you do it?" She smiled, brushing a lock of hair behind her ear. "I didn't try to fight it. I let it see me, not as a threat, but as someone willing to listen. Sometimes the strongest message is no message at all." The room seemed to absorb her words, the truth of them sinking deep. It was a lesson many had forgotten in the rush to conquer and control. Here, in this moment, the human spirit was not just surviving, it was thriving. The cub, now visibly relaxed, broke away and padded toward the glass, pressing its nose against it. The crowd leaned in, captivated by the sight of a creature once feared, now at peace. She stood slowly, her eyes never leaving the predators, knowing that this was the start of something far greater than a simple training exercise. Outside, the world was changing. Challenges loomed large: environmental shifts, conflicts over territory, the growing tension between species. But this moment, fragile and fleeting, was a beacon. It showed that humans could adapt, could reach across the divide and build bridges where once there were only walls. Her grin widened as she stepped back, hands open and relaxed. The cub let out a soft, almost contented growl, a sound that echoed hope. The instructors, the trainees, even the observers felt it, a pulse of possibility. This was more than a victory over a wild creature. It was a testament to the resilience, ingenuity, and compassion that defines humanity. And as she prepared to lead the next phase of training, she knew that every challenge ahead would be met with the same spirit. Because in a world where survival often meant confrontation, she had shown that sometimes the greatest power lay in a simple act of kindness. The days that followed were unlike anything the training facility had ever witnessed. The cub, once a snarling symbol of raw, untamed power, had transformed under her steady presence. Reports came in from every corner of the base. Trainees who had once flinched at the predator's growl now spoke of it with a mix of awe and respect. It wasn't just an animal anymore. It was a living testament to what humanity could achieve when fear gave way to understanding. She became a legend within those walls, not for brute strength or daring feats, but for something far rarer: the courage to face the unknown with an open heart. That courage rippled outward, inspiring even the most hardened veterans to reconsider their own approach. The instructors, once skeptical, began to integrate her methods into their training, embracing empathy as a tool just as vital as weapons or tactics. Outside the containment area, the world beyond the facility was shifting too. News of her breakthrough spread quickly, stirring conversations in places where science, diplomacy, and survival intersected. People began to wonder, what if this wasn't just about one predator cub? What if it was a sign that humanity could rewrite its story with all the creatures it shared the planet with? The implications were staggering. Wars fought over resources, conflicts born from fear of the unknown, the endless cycle of violence between species. Could these finally be broken by something as simple as trust? She believed they could, and her story became a beacon, a rallying cry for those who dreamed of a future where coexistence wasn't just an ideal, but a reality. Her journey was far from over. If anything, it had just begun. The cub, now more than a symbol, was a partner, an ambassador bridging the gap between worlds. Together, they ventured into new territories of understanding, teaching others that strength was not measured by dominance, but by the ability to connect, to listen, and to grow. In the quiet moments, when the noise of the world faded, she often reflected on the path that had brought her here. The fear, the doubt, the moments when even she questioned whether she could stand her ground. Those memories were not burdens, but reminders of the resilience that lay within. Every challenge had shaped her, forged her into someone who could face the fiercest snarls with a grin and a steady hand. Her story resonated deeply because it was, at its core, a story about hope. Hope that no matter how wild or dangerous the world seemed, humanity's greatest weapon was its spirit. The spirit that refuses to back down, that reaches out instead of striking out, that finds light even in the darkest places. And for her viewers and listeners, those who gathered around screens, drawn by the thrill of the story, this was more than entertainment. It was a call to action. A reminder that bravery isn't just about fighting. It's about standing tall when everyone else falters, about choosing understanding when the easy path is fear. And